The death sentence that tore America apart. It was a Thursday morning, gray, wet, and unforgiving. Rain slid down the courthouse walls like tears the sky refused to hold. Every drop tapped the glass like hesitant fingers trying to warn the building of the tragedy waiting inside. Courtroom 4B had seen thousands of cases. But that morning, something darker lingered. Something ancient. Something that smelled like hatred wearing the disguise of law. At exactly 9 a.m., Judge Henry Whitmore entered. Punctual, predictable, unbending. His robe trailed behind him like a shadow stitched to his soul. For 30 years, his gavel had ended lives, set futures on fire, and carried the cold authority of the system he worshipped. They called him the Pillar of Justice. He liked that name, but that morning something inside him would crack. The defendant was a 23-year-old black man named Marcus Turner. He entered in handcuffs, escorted by guards who stared at him as if guilt might leak from his skin. He was young, scared, yet strangely calm, the kind of calm born only from surviving storms you never created. Marcus was accused of murdering a white store owner during a robbery. The evidence? None. No fingerprints, no weapon, no motive, no witness. Nothing but skin color and a system trained long ago to see certain people as threats. The prosecutor didn't present facts, he presented fear. Words like aggressive, dangerous, unpredictable. Words sharpened by centuries, and the all-white jury swallowed them whole. Marcus tried to meet their eyes, but most looked at him the way people watch a storm through glass, distant and ready to blame it for anything. His public defender tried, but her voice drowned in the prosecutor's theatrical confidence. It didn't matter. Prejudice had already taken its seat at the head of the table. The jury deliberated only 42 minutes. Long enough to confirm their assumptions. Guilty. Marcus didn't cry. He only lowered his head as if he had expected this outcome from the moment he was born. But when Judge Whitmore pronounced the sentence, death by lethal injection, there was a ripple of applause. In a room meant for justice, they applauded the ending of a life they never tried to understand. Marcus broke. Tears fell. Not for himself, but for the world he had fought to survive. That night, Judge Whitmore tried to pretend everything was normal. He returned to his quiet home, a museum of awards and silence. He poured whiskey and watched the storm raging outside. The rain hammered the windows, as if the sky itself objected. He told himself he did the right thing, that justice had spoken. But Marcus's eyes kept appearing in his mind. Eyes carrying a pain he recognized but didn't understand. At 2:47 a.m., a soft sound broke the silence. Something slid under his front door. An envelope, pale, rain-soaked, addressed shakily, for Judge Whitmore. Inside was a letter from a former nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. I cared for a young woman named Rosa Turner. She gave birth alone. The father was a white law student who left before the child was born. That man was you. Whitmore stared at the words. His hands shook violently. Marcus wasn't just a defendant. He was his son. He read the letter again and again. The timeline matched. The description matched. The scar mentioned in the letter, he had seen the same one on Marcus's shoulder during the trial. A cold wave crashed over him. He had just sentenced his own child to death. Panicked, he dialed the governor, the attorney general, the prison. Some hung up. Some mocked him. No one believed him. Time was running out. He grabbed his coat and drove through the storm at terrifying speed. Thunder cracked overhead like the sky was screaming his guilt aloud. When he reached the prison, the guards stared with blank faces. I need to see Marcus Turner, he pleaded. No visitors during execution procedures, one replied. You don't understand, the judge cried. I sentenced my own son. The guards exchanged looks. Some smirked. One simply said, execution has already begun. Something broke inside him. He shoved past them, sprinting down the corridor. Alarms wailed. Boots thundered behind him, but he kept running. He reached the chamber window just as the needle slid in. Marcus lay strapped to the table, eyes half open, breathing shallow. Whitmore slammed both palms against the glass. "Stop! That's my son!" he screamed. Marcus slowly turned his head. Their eyes met, father and son. Strangers united by a truth discovered too late. A single tear slid from Marcus's eye. He mouthed, "I forgive you." The chemicals entered his bloodstream. The machine beeped once. Then silence. The judge collapsed, his sobs drowned by the storm outside. 3 days later, Henry Whitmore was found dead in his study. No struggle, no violence, just a man whose heart finally broke. In his hand was the nurse's letter. On his desk, a note. "I killed my son not knowing he was mine, and knowing I died with him." The story tore the country apart. Protests erupted. Debates exploded. But slowly, painfully, America did what it always does. It moved on. Years later, 3 graves stood together on a quiet hill. Henry Whitmore, Rosa Turner, Marcus Whitmore Turner. Their stones faced the sunrise. Silent, still, together at last. On the judge's headstone were carved 3 strange words. Justice served itself. No one ever discovered who carved them. Beneath the earth, for the first time, a broken family lay together, not in judgment, but in peace. Prejudice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it slips quietly into the room, wearing the mask of normal, shaking hands with tradition, hiding behind the illusion of justice. In Courtroom 4B, a young black man stood alone, not protected by evidence, not defended by truth, but judged by fear, by history, and by a skin color the world had already decided was dangerous. He wasn't seen as a son, a dreamer, or a human being. He was seen as a threat, and in that moment the truth did not matter. And a judge, sworn to protect fairness, failed to see the weight of the system he carried. Blinded by procedure, shielded by power, he only realized too late that injustice doesn't just crush the innocent, it breaks the hearts of those who enforce it. Racism killed Marcus Turner, but it also shattered Henry Whitmore. A father and son, separated by fate, reunited only in the final fragile seconds of life, connected by a truth that arrived too late to save either of them. Imagine the final look they shared. Marcus, lying helpless, and the judge pounding on the glass, begging for a moment he never used when it mattered. A lifetime of choices collapsing into one devastating truth. Hatred doesn't just take lives. It steals futures. It silences stories. It tears families apart long before they even know they belong to one another. Let this story remind us, if justice isn't equal, it isn't justice. If the law isn't blind to color, it is blind to humanity. And if we stay silent, the next Marcus will walk into another courtroom, already condemned by the world's assumptions. Prejudice kills in ways we see, and in ways we only understand too late. Injustice echoes in neighborhoods, in families, in memories, long after the verdict is read. Hatred does not stop at the victim. It swallows those who believe they are safe from its reach. So choose empathy when the world offers judgment. Choose compassion when society offers fear. Choose humanity where history has built walls. Choose what the courtroom failed to give Marcus: true justice, real fairness, and the courage to see each other as human.